I have spent a few days in Switzerland. It was a pretty amazing experience, fantastic landscapes, freaking expensive too, but still fantastic landscapes. And long before this trip, in fact, I was looking for a small everyday to carry camera. Like probably half of the population, get out and taking pictures is something I like a lot, but bringing heavy camera gear with me all day is something I don't. And at best, I just want to take a small hip pack with me to carry a few stuff, and that's it. It is what I did during my trip to Switzerland, because I visited places that weren't super easy to get to, or that involved a little bit of hiking. So complexity is really something I value a lot. So why not use my phone as my main camera? It is what I did for the past few years, and although phones' camera sensors are getting bigger, they are still nowhere near the size of a full-frame or APS-C sensor. And sometimes, computational photography isn't enough to fight against vastly superior hardware. Then, it is not only about pure image quality. The appeal of using a dedicated device, playing with dice, all these bring a totally different shooting experience. And the more fun I will have when shooting, the more likely I will take even more pictures. And the more pictures I take, the more likely I will improve my photography. I think that's how things should work. So the setup I was looking for was pretty simple. A compact camera with a relatively large match sensor. And affordable too, because I have already expected to be broke after my trip to Switzerland. So it was time for investigations. The Ricoh GR series is probably the first thing to come in mind, but given all the hype around these, they are still pretty expensive. So I tried to look for something cheaper. And after endless research, approximately 5 minutes, I finally find one for around 300 euros. You may have already recognized it on the thumbnail. It is the Nikon Coolpix A. It has been released in 2013 and it checks a few important boxes, like a fairly large APS-C sensor and a compact form factor. The first thing that surprised me was the build quality, as it has an all-metal body, which is something we are not used to see on all cameras even nowadays. Despite its compact size, it packs an important number of buttons and has even a pop-up flash. It does feel a bit dense in the hand, but it contributes to this feeling of robustness. The camera interface looks a bit dated, but it has some nice features. You can set a max ISO and shutter speed value for preventing the camera to reach crazy values when not shooting in manual mode, which is pretty convenient. Another cool feature is the ability to create picture profiles with specific color tuning, which is something reminiscent to the Fujifilm film simulation, although it is not as advanced here, but it is still pretty cool if you want to have a specific look straight out the JPEGs. 16 megapixels may sound a bit low by today's standards, but most of us, me included, mainly share their pictures through social media that heavily compress them. Therefore, the benefit of using a high-res sensor is often greatly diluted. So, in my use case at least, it is more than enough for everyday use. And it absolutely doesn't mean this camera cannot deliver sharp results. Indeed, I was often surprised by the amount of detail it can capture, specifically on the skin, which is an area where smartphones are still a bit in trouble, I think. That's why sensor size does matter. Although the maximum aperture is limited to f2.8, the sensor is large enough to produce some nice bokeh and close-up subjects. But unfortunately, a camera isn't only defined by its image quality, and there is definitely one area where it falls short. Autofocus. Let's face it, it is pretty much unreliable. It will fail at focusing faces, close-ups, and needless to say, it will also fail at focusing moving subjects. It won't be an issue if the manual focus was great, but the lack of focus picking and the fact that the screen is low-res means that I am never 100% sure about whether or not the subject is in focus, as it will never look sharp. I have to zoom in first, which weirdly enough make the viewfinder quite laggy, and then play with the ring. That's a bit too much steps in my opinion for making this process convenient. Other potential deal breaker, the lack of IBIS, which could be an issue when shooting in low light, unless I use a tripod, which completely ruins the purpose of having a super compact camera. So, would I recommend it? The simple answer is no. Although I had and I still have a ton of fun when using it, and that I am pretty satisfied overall with the output it can deliver, I have also missed so many shots because of this autofocus that I am never super confident when using it. So, unless you can buy it for a low price or you mainly do landscape photography, I advise you to look elsewhere. But the question is, what else do we have? The Ricoh GR series is still priced pretty high. As for the Leica X series, the Fujifilm X70, the only remaining option seems to be the Fuji X-F10, but it also seems to suffer from a pretty mediocre autofocus, so I don't know if it is a wise decision to get it. And when looking at all the Ricoh GR related content on YouTube, it is surprising to see how poor this market is. For all camera manufacturers, what are you waiting for?